everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back Chat. This is my wonderful fiance Maggie, and I'm Amy. Together we are ThinkerThemer, and in Back Chat we talk through the last 2 weeks of campaigns, whether that be on Kickstarter or GameFound. All I know is that in the last 2 weeks I have spent a lot of money. So this caught me by surprise because there were not many games that I was like, oh, you know, I'm really looking forward to that launching and anticipating backing. But we have backed probably a higher proportion of games this fortnight than we usually do. So let's get straight into it. Our number 10.
So our number 10 is a game called The Lost Code. Now, this is a reprint / reskin of an older game called Think Straight, with the number 8.
Think Straight. It feels like it wouldn't be a game in our collection.
I tried to think straight for the first 21, 22 years of my life.
How did that work out?
Didn't go so well.
Not so good.
You know, I mean, I'm not going to say I wouldn't recommend because it's, but it wasn't for me. So this is not about that.
No, this is about The Lost Code.
This is about The Lost Code, and it's also about numbers. So, yeah. So The Lost Code, they've sort of attempted to put a bit of a theme to it, even though it's very clear that the theme is very much just painted on. But the theme is that we are explorers. We've gone into the new world, and we've kind of wandered through the jungle and gone into the Temple of the Sun. And there is a serpent that now we have to sort of get away from. And this serpent has riddles for us in the form of a series of numbers or a code, which, you know, apparently it's sort of emanating out of us, but everybody else can see them, but we can't.
This is some thematic reach.
It's just numbers, essentially.
It is. This is a very abstract game. It's an abstract deduction game where everybody is going to, Hanabi style, have their numbers facing outwards, so they can't see them, but everybody else around the table can, and you're going to be trying to deduce what your set of numbers are. Now, the way that the game works is you're going to be rolling 3 dice on your turn, which are going to refer to the suits or some of the numbers that are facing away from you, and you're going to have to take a guess at what the sum of those numbers are. And if you get within the range, you're going to be able to move on the board. If you are far outside the range, or you fall outside that range, the sum does, that is, you will be forced to exchange one of your tiles with another one from the stack, without looking at it, of course, which means that it's setting you back in terms of your deduction process. And so everybody has a pad of paper and a pen, like a good deduction game, and you will be putting down all of your guesses to work out you know, what your set of numbers are, and the person who can get closest is going to win. For me, I did not get the theme from the campaign page. Everything that you described, I didn't see.
It is entirely pasted on.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, well, you said painted on before, which I thought was an interesting new Maggie-ism.
I'll have it. Yes. Pasted. You paint it and then you paste it on. Yes.
But one thing I didn't like about that theme was that they refer to it in broad terms as a jungle theme on the campaign page. There's clear evidence that they have taken a lot of inspiration
visually
from Aztec, Mayan type symbology, and I do feel that if you're going to do that theme, do it right. Reference the culture that you're using for that. It didn't feel like it was very purposeful, and really it could have been anything.
Anything.
It didn't need to be there.
Like, it could literally be anything. It could be bunnies, it could be cakes, it could be
anything.
For anything.
For anything.
But
for numbers, for any reason. Yeah.
So,
if you're going to do it right.
Yeah, sort of a weird kind of choice. But.
So we're not backing this one. The price is fairly reasonable at $40 for the game, although some people would say, you know, it's quite an abstract kind of, not much to it components-wise.
It seems very, I've never played, obviously, the original, but it seems very well loved by, you know, some people.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard to get. So a lot of people will be looking forward to The Lost Code as a way of getting that game Think Straight. That is probably out of print. But that is our number 10, The Lost Code. Our number 9 is a game called Thunder Rolls, and this is a game where the theme does not really resonate with either of us, I don't think.
Yeah, but we're not racing.
No, but the designer is definitely a big fan of NASCAR racing, I believe, and has made this as kind of like a passion project. Actually, during the lockdown of 2020, he made 5 racing car games, and this was the one that made it to Kickstarter. Yeah, wow. And what's really interesting is I am this close to backing this game because the mechanics seem really interesting to me. I think that it's very rare where you see a dice roll used as kind of, how would you say, it's like it's almost like gambling, or it's like dice allocation to an action. And
so because you're backing your die choice.
Yeah. Actually, a game we played recently, Chai Tea for Two, implements this, where you roll your dice, and then if you've got a group of dice that have the same number on them, you can use that as like a way of kind of putting them onto an action and taking control of that action. So paying attention to the person who places the die that has not only the highest number, but also the biggest cluster of dice in that spot. And so what you're going to be doing here is racing cars, and you're going to be rolling those dice, placing them out into these action spots, which give you some immediate actions where you might move your car forward in the race. But also you then kind of, when you get to that cleanup phase, you're going to be using your position on that action spot to select these, I think they're called thunder cards. And the thunder cards are going to vary in value. And if you obviously get to choose first, you get to take the highest thunder card, which is going to give you more movement in the race. There's a couple of other mechanics here that I really like. One is that you can re-roll your dice as long as you've got your crew available, but once you've done that once, you turn it over and it's like considered a pit stop where they're now out of action.
Yeah. I like that it sounds like, well, like in inverted commas, but it sounds like there's a lot of interaction, or like you're kind of interfering with other players.
I was going to say, do you like that?
Yeah, that's why I say it's like, I like that it has it. I don't like it for me, because in general, I also don't like cars, so I probably wouldn't necessarily
I like it for you.
I like it as a thing that they've added here for people that will play this game. Unlikely to be me, not because I think it's a bad game, it's just the racing cars thing is like...
I think the mechanics are really interesting in the way that the race plays out. I personally I think I would get a lot of joy out of painting the minis, because there are 8, I think, car miniatures that are included in here. They give you a bunch of stickers, but I think I would ignore those stickers and probably go to town with the painting and creating like unique race car looks. I've seen a few of those games around, and it has piqued my interest into painting them in, you know, like shiny metallics and different fun things. Probably they'll look nothing like they do in the real race, but that's okay. I could personalize them.
You can always just get the stickers as a backup if everything goes horribly wrong with the painting. Just like, oh, just sticker it away.
People in the windows, like stick figures. I'm not
me out. That's me on the car. I don't want to participate if there's what do you call it? Meddling between players.
So this game actually I think is quite reasonably priced, considering that it does include miniatures. It's $49 to get in on this. For us, it's really expensive shipping, unfortunately, at $29 US. But I don't know, I'm still really close to backing this game, and it surprised me out of nowhere. And that is Thunder Rolls, our number 9.
Our number 8 is a game called Take That Towers. So in this game, we're going to be building high-risers or skyscrapers. ESL, English as a second language. So we're going to be building a city. So we're going to be building towers. I don't like that it's got the Take That name on it, because it makes me think
it's
that,
called Take That Towers.
Is it going to have Take That in it? Very likely. And the thing that we get to do is we get to either decide with these lovely multi-use cards if we're going to be contributing and adding more levels to the towers, or if we're going to be flipping that card and essentially claiming a level for whatever its ability is going to be. Tricky thing about it is that you're not really going to get to cash in on that ability of that level that you're claiming until that entire tower has been completed.
And this was actually a first-time designer who was quite inspired by, I think actually the designer is a video game designer and was inspired by those kind of Sim Tower and that kind of game where you can kind of create your own world. And in this game, you are contributing to a central city. So you're all building into the city. But the interesting thing is, as Maggie said, is that you're either going to be helping contribute to a tower, but if you don't claim ownership by using those very same cards and flipping them over and then applying them to the levels that already exist, then when that tower scores, you're not going to score any points. And I believe that each of the levels or the different cards actually trigger different things to happen that can kind of mess with other players or change the game state. It does seem like a fairly quick, easy filler game. But I like that. I like when there's a first-time designer. It's only $15 US, but I thought actually the pricing of this game was really interesting because it is $15 US for a single game, or you can get 2 copies of the game for $19.
Wow.
So I think if you have a friend that you could see giving this to, or maybe you keep one for yourself and sell the other game, it kind of definitely makes sense to get 2. So when I didn't think I was back in this game at all, now I feel like I'm going to be getting 2 of this game.
I got her.
And if you live in the US, you're very lucky because it's $1 US shipping, whereas it's $12 US shipping for us. So only 12 times as much. But, you know, we do live a very, very, very far way away. But that is our number 8, Take That Towers. Our number 7 is a game that's a little bit different for us because it is a party game. Really, it's a party game. I like party games probably a bit more than you because I have more bigger social occasions that I like to use party games for. I'm more likely to pick one up and take it to work, for example. And one that caught my eye this fortnight is road tripping. And I thought it was really funny, the concept, because it's all about number plates. Is that what they call them? License plates.
Yeah.
License plates. We call them number plates here, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And a lot of people get those personalized. And because you're limited to the characters that you can put onto a license plate, obviously people use them in all sorts of ways to spell out sayings or words or names. And that's what you're doing in this game. So in the game, you will be drawing a card and getting a saying that you then have to transpose into a license plate. And the trick of this game is the main game can be played many different ways, but I think the main intention of the game is to be in 2 teams, and you'll have to write down the saying, but in license plate format, and hope that your team can guess it. And if they can't, then you hope at least the other team won't be able to guess it. Yeah. But what's interesting is that you get bonus points if you introduce numbers into the license plate, and you get bonus points if you leave any spaces. So if you can make that license plate shorter and still get the entire saying across. Now, when we watched the campaign video, and we were both a bit like, oh yeah, party game. But then I thought it was really fun. If you go to the campaign page, it shows you some examples. It's kind of like a few puzzles that are in there where you actually have to try and work out what they're trying to say. And that gives you a really good sense of what the game would feel like. And then I started looking at some of the cards and thinking about how I would turn that into a license plate. Yeah. And, the creators talk about the fact that everybody knows how to play this game. Like,
you do it naturally. Yeah, you're like, what is that vanity plate? You're what? Yeah.
Trying to work out what it says, and then you get it and you're like, that's terrible.
I enjoyed that. I can't even... In The Good Place, there was one episode where they talk about, like, there's a special place in hell for people with vanity plates. I can't remember the episode very well, but yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, so I don't know, what did you think of this game?
Again, it's a party game. I tend to not love word games in general. I tend to not love party games in general. I was, as you said, like, I was intrigued when I was looking through the page and kind of going, oh yeah, how, what is that? What, I think I would enjoy checking it out, but it wouldn't be something I'm like, again, like, because with those kinds of puzzles, I'm not very good at them, so my mind just sort of gives up.
It's a bit harder with English as a second language, because then you've got to create a language from your second language. But look, I'll give you that.
Well, even just going through that list, I was like, what does that mean? Like, it's like they were saying, so I was like, I've never heard that in my life.
I would say what the saying is, and Maggie's like, I don't know what the saying means.
Wow. So, well, there you go. I learned something. So, but that would be bad in a team.
That would be bad in a team.
Like, is it?
Definitely not going on your team. Anyway, so we both gave it a 6. I am a little bit closer to backing it than probably the 6 would imply.
I enjoy the concept.
I really enjoy the concept. If you back the Kickstarter, you get some extra license plates. And what I think is really cool is that the license plates that you write on are actually made out of metal. So not efficient for shipping though, and that's probably why we're paying $20 plus customs for shipping. So that's where I'm a bit stuck on this game. I really want to give it a go, but the shipping is a little bit expensive for the fact that it is like a smaller word party game that probably won't get too much play, particularly with Maggie. But anyway, I'm keeping my eye on that one to see what happens with the campaign. That is our number 7, Road Trippin'.
Our number 6 is a game called Dust to Dust. Okay, I'm gonna try it again.
Yeah.
And number 6 is a game called Dust to Dust, the deck builder. Shucks. Disintegration. All right. Deck building and disintegration. All right. And number 6 is a game called Dust to Dust, the deck builder and... Is it the deck builder? Is it the deck building and disintegration game?
Do you want to write it and put it under the camera?
No, I'll get it. Our number 6 is a game called Dust to Dust, the deck building and disintegration game. And number 6 is a game called Dust to Dust, the deck building and disintegration game. Now, this game takes place in a reclaimed world, is what they're calling. So what I'm seeing, and called Earth, with a U.
Earth with a U.
I wonder what this reclaimed world may be. Anyways, we are divers in this world, and we're going to be diving in a race to try and get artifacts and get, fusion shards, so that then we can get, I think, recruit allies and then get more artifacts with that, because apparently relics. Yes. Because apparently this is what we need to keep our home afloat.
And so this is a deck building game, and it seems like a very highly competitive deck building game where you will be able to not only build your deck to make it more fruitful for yourself, but also be able to attack your opponent. So there is an element of recruiting allies that are actually used in an attack sense. But you are also, key to this game is generating enough energy in each of your, every time you draw from your deck, because you're going to be using energy to recruit those allies, but also to get those relics. And the game ends when anyone does get 3 relics. I think there's some other end game ways that it can end as well. Yeah, end game conditions. But you do want to get those relics, and then at the end of the game, it's going to be the person who has the most number of victory points in their deck. So pretty straightforward. I thought the artwork and the concept was quite interesting here. It was definitely like really beautifully illustrated. It really caught my eye. In terms of like, you know, there's so many deck builders that we see on Kickstarter, and this one is this kind of dystopian theme is not really usually our thing, but this one for some reason stood out to me.
Well, apparently it's like inspired by Studio Ghibli and Dark Souls
that's
together. So it's like
Studio Ghibli drawing us in. But yeah, when you do get the whole bundle of things, you can choose to get different number of play mats for different player counts. I thought that was really interesting. Like you can kind of choose whether you're going to be playing it 2-player or 4-player. Unfortunately, the shipping is $45 US to Australia, which is like one of the highest that I've seen in a while. So we won't be picking up this one, unfortunately. But I definitely, if you're into that kind of game,
it's something that to check out. Like because I think I like it. Feels like it was designed to like a big part of it is that deck. Is it thinning or cleaning, which is that kind of disintegration part where you're getting rid of all those cards.
That is interesting because you have to disintegrate a card and you put it into a pile that can then be brought back into your hand. So you are able to get those cards back, I believe. And also some of those negative interactions that I mentioned are when you play an attack ally, you actually can force other people to disintegrate cards from their hand. And there's something very bad that happens in this game if you run out of the cards from your hand. Like at all times, you're meant to have cards in your hand. So I think you get eliminated.
Off guard.
Yeah, you get eliminated for that round or something.
Right.
So anyway, that is Dust to Dust, the deck building and disintegration game. It looks fun to play, but it's hard to say.
It was so hard to say.
Our number 6.
Our number 5 is a game called Earthborne Rangers. Now, this is probably one of my growing favorite sort of thematic settings, which I believe is called solar punk, and it's sort of this this world where it's sort of futuristic, and it's the kind of more positive side of we have used science to help nature regenerate, essentially. And so you have these combinations of like uber advanced scientific machines and robots, but they're quite well integrated with, you know, flora and fauna and things like that. So this game is very much, obviously takes place in this sort of far future. It's meant to be quite an explorative and almost meditative or relaxing journey of discovery. We're going to be using cards. So it's essentially going to be a bit of a deck builder that helps you build a story. I love that you get to kind of build the story of your character before you kind of get started, and then you're also through those cards discovering the land that you're exploring. You're going to be encountering creatures, you're going to be upskilling yourself, getting and improving equipment and all this sort of stuff. It is a co-op game, so I see that I'm probably going to be playing this solo.
Yes, that's why I did rate it a little lower, although it is still a 7 for me, and that has a lot to do with I did really enjoy the theme as well, but I thought the concept and the mechanics of the game are really interesting because it really is mostly a deck of cards. There's also a book that comes with it that allows you to kind of fill in the gaps with the narrative story, so the cards have a reference number where you look that up and can read out the story to yourself. But I thought it was really interesting the way that it's a little bit sandboxy in that you can go to different locations on a map, and then once you get there, there's a path deck that is set up that is very specific to that location, which was interesting. And then there were really kind of fun character developments, like if you are going into a fight and you get injured, then there are cards that come up later on that are to do with like the legacy of that injury and other cards that you kind of need to deal with. So I thought that was really unique, and I feel like the designers have a lot of experience in a lot of games, like very well respected designers. So it would not surprise me that there are lots of innovations that are going on across this deck of cards, which is seemingly just a deck of cards. But yeah, I really liked all of those elements. I also really liked that this is a game about
nature,
given the theme,
sustainability, and like sort of planning for a better future and creating
exactly
a better future.
That the sustainability creds for this campaign are incredible, and it just shows what can be done when some thought is put into it. So instead of neoprene mats, they're putting natural rubber play mats. They're using bioplastic. The cards, when they arrive, are not going to be wrapped in any one single-use plastic, and everything is mostly cardboard. And so that is really amazing because, it is a lot of production that goes into all these board games that then get shipped all over the world. Where, huge carbon footprint with games getting shipped all the way over here as well. So the one thing that kind of made me a bit sad is that they haven't estimated postage, but the reason for that is because they are hoping to reach a stretch goal which will allow them to manufacture the games in more local areas so that there is less of a carbon footprint in terms of how far the game's traveling. So I haven't backed it yet, but I'm certainly watching it. It is, because they are creating it sustainably, of course it's not going to be as cheap to develop a game that way, but it is something that we should all, kind of be looking, I guess, to pay for if a game is, if the creators are going to go to that trouble.
I'd be on board with that. I'd be on board with buying fewer games if I know that they're being made more sustainably, and then if it ends up being a game that's not for you, then you pass it on. And so it's that thing
but so it's $80 as the entry point for this game. There's another option which is $105. It comes with a second deck of cards, and that's it comes with some other expansion things, I believe, but it comes with a second deck of cards so that if you are playing cooperatively, you have the same cards that you can choose from, and basically you can have duplication of cards across your 2 character decks. But that is our number 5 Earthborne Rangers. Now we're climbing up to number 4, and the surprises don't stop. This one is a game called The Road, and I had never heard of this game, had never heard of the publisher, and stumbled upon this game, didn't see it on any list, just happened upon it, and it is a solo only experience.
Tell me more.
And you know how I feel about a solo, like I'm probably never going to play it, but this one I watched the playthrough video. So there is a great how it plays video on there by the creator, and I watched it and I thought, this might be a game that I would play solo.
What?
Yeah. And if it even gets in that kind of space, then it deserves to be high up on the list.
Why? What got you?
Mechanically, I just found it really interesting. So basically, you are traveling along a road, and across the different rounds of this game, you're going to be taking a path or a road of a different number of cards. So if you have a road that is 5 cards, you'll be drawing 5 path cards or road cards, and then you'll be turning them over one by one, and basically having to work your way around what they are throwing at you. And so sometimes that might involve an encounter with a character, or it might use some of your different skill levels, but it felt like there was just a lot of interesting things going on. So you can equip yourself with different equipment, weapons and things that then give you more defense against certain characters. But the way that, I don't know if you saw this, but the way that the deck, the Encounters deck, I believe it is, interacts with the back of the cards. So you reveal one card and then they either want to trade with you or they want to fight you, for example. And it's the card that's remaining on the deck that tells you which one of those two interactions that person is going to have with you. So they might just want to trade with you. And if they just want to trade with you, then you get to pick up a trade deck that is sitting to the side and sort through for some new equipment and, kind of grab that equipment. And I just thought there was, like, for a game that is just a set of cards, basically, like, they've done so much to create this entire experience, and I was really, really drawn in by it.
Well, to me, like, when I was watching it, I was like, I'm kind of getting Friday feels, because there's so many, or this is what it kind of looks like to me. There's a lot of really tough choices that you're having to make where there's no choice where you're going to be unscathed. So it's kind of like, which is going to be the lesser evil, but also having to, like, plan ahead and sort of balance the risk and the damage that you might be taking, or the things that you're compromising on. So that kind of reminded me, it sort of felt like a more layered version of the puzzle that I get with Friday. I don't know if that's going to be correct. Like, I don't know if that's going to be the experience playing it, but that's the sort of the sense and the hint that I get. I really also enjoyed the artwork on the cards, and like, there's so many interesting mechanics that are,
and the use of iconography I thought was really strong. Because when I was watching just this how to play, I, like, instantly understood all of the symbols and the icons that they were using.
Which is the other thing. It's originally in French, and so
So for this campaign, they only released 50 copies in English, and that's because they're not doing a reprint of the English game. This is actually a reprint of the French game. And when I hit the campaign and watched this video, and I was like, by the time I was like, yes, I'm going to back this game, of course all the English copies had sold out, and there were only French copies, but rest assured, actually the language use is very minimal on the cards. So if you are interested in it, you can still pick up, which is still a limited print run of the French edition, and then the English rules are already posted on the campaign page. So you'd certainly be able to, I think, get around the fact that it is in French. However, just before I hit record on this, I was looking at the page again, and it just so happened that one of the English copies came up. It went from 50 down to 49, so I grabbed that copy. So we did manage to grab an English copy. The other thing is that they do have some print and plays available of their previous two games, which I believe were also solo games. So Maggie has very recently gotten into some print and play games.
I'm new to this, but I am enjoying exploring a bit.
But this comes with both of their other print and play games, so you'll be able to give that a go. So that is our number 4, real surprise, the solo game, The Road.
Now we're coming into our number 3, or top 3. Our number 3 is a game called Oros, and in Oros we are all demigods with control and power over the elements, and so our role is going to be to guide the people who are scattered across all these different islands, to sort of gently guide them towards the majestic mountains so that they can build like sacred spaces there to study, because it's all about gaining the ultimate wisdom, or the sort of timeless knowledge. And so ironically, our role is, the more our followers, or not the smarter, but the wiser, or the more knowledge that our followers can attain, then the more revered we're going to be.
I don't know anything about this theme, but you had me at rows and columns.
I never said rows and columns, but yes, there are plenty of rows and columns.
Oros had me at rows and columns. I saw that beautiful grid in the center of the table, and the way that it works is you will be sliding things along rows and columns or around the board to move around essentially your workers or your followers around the board, which can also really disrupt other players. And so this game has a really high level of interaction, which I didn't think Maggie would be too keen on. But they say, I love that they say on the campaign, they use a term called symbiotically competitive. because you sometimes can take a turn, and my understanding is it can be of something beneficial to both of you. So there can be some positive interaction as well. And I like positive interaction in games because Maggie tends to go into her multiplayer solitaire universe. And sometimes that having that positive player interaction means that Maggie stays engaged with my turn because she doesn't want to miss out on the goodies that she's going to get when I take my turn. But I really liked Oros. This is a game that I have backed, and a game that I backed fairly quickly. It was a highly anticipated game. It was a little more abstract than I expected it to be, with a puzzle in the center. But what I really like is the player board. On the player board, you'll be using your own workers to take action selection spots. And when you do that, you're going to be blocking yourself, a little bit like Scythe. If you've ever played Scythe, it reminds me very much of that, where you need to kind of move out of your own way in order to do an action again. I also really like the fact that you are going to have lots of player abilities that you'll be unlocking along the way, and you can choose which powers you're going to be unlocking and how quickly you do that. And to me, again, that feels a little bit like Scythe, because you are unlocking things and choosing which path you're going to take to win the game. But then, of course, that all relates to the puzzle in the middle, where you're going to be building up the mountains. You're going to be, I think there's an element of when you kind of stack your tiles on top and you worship in an area, is that, or studying in an area?
Studying so that you can kind of tap into the ultimate wisdom, and the knowledge,
so I don't know, it seemed like there was enough going on, particularly like I was less about the puzzle actually and much more about the player board. I thought that was really cool. And there is a collector's edition and a regular edition. Almost everybody who's backing this game is backing it at a collector's edition, because I think it's only $25 more, and you get a lot of wooden meeples and wooden tiles and upgrades where they were cardboard before. And also I think they're about to unlock a double layered player board as well. And who doesn't like that? But it only comes with the collector's edition, I believe. So check that out. That was an 8 from me and a 7 from Maggie.
Yeah, my only concern with it is I think when I saw it, I'm like, oh, this is probably going to be a bit more abstract than, like, it does look quite abstract. I love this sort of stuff. I love the concept of light and wisdom and, timeless knowledge. And so my concern is I don't know if it'll deliver thematically, or if it's just going to be like you're kind of sort of doing it. The red flags for me are always when you've got like demigods fighting over which, or trying to compete over, like my people are going to be better than your people.
They're competing to educate though. So it's all in the name of education.
It's a strange concept in the world of, wisdom and knowledge.
Well, you don't like cooperative games. What do you want from these designers?
I don't know what I want.
But it does look a little abstract. But we'll see. I'm really interested to give it a go. That is our number 3, Oros. Our number 2 is an expansion for a game that is very close to our heart, and that is Architects of the West Kingdom, Works of Wonder. Now, Architects of the West Kingdom has been in our collection for a very long time, and we really, really love that game. It's a game that we've used to kind of get people into gaming. It's a really fun worker placement, but it's not too complicated, but there's a high degree of interactivity, which makes it really fun. Of course, I really love the mechanic where if one person's like putting too many meeples in one location, you can grab them all and throw them in jail.
Throw them to the tower.
Throw them to the tower.
You have to go and collect them all, bail them all out. You go, okay.
It's really fun. It has a high degree of interactivity, but also a lot of strategy, which I just absolutely adore. But this is the second expansion called Works of Wonder, and it introduces a lot more than just the wonders. So there's a new building type called the Wonders.
Yeah,
5 of them that you're going to be able to build. But there's also a new track, so the new influence track. So before there was just a virtue track. It adds a whole new section to the board, actually. So you add on a whole new section. There's the 2 new characters.
Yeah, there's a princess that will help you kind of survey. You tag along to survey the different sites, and that's how you can contribute to building those wonders, those monuments. And then there's a profiteer who moves around. I believe is sort of triggered or based on the black market cycles, and essentially he'll help you with a bit more of that influence and probably some dodgy dealings. I love how this game has that kind of, you can be good or you can be evil, and then there's consequences. There's kind of bonuses and disadvantages, or like especially when like It's good to be, it's advantageous if you're a little bit dodgy at first and you're kind of going down in the virtue track. You're going to have negative victory points at the end if you're not, if you're not virtuous by the time that you pass
it's all
on.
about the timing of where you are. But I really like with this new expansion that it again introduces that interactivity, because if you are contributing to, or you're making a contribution, you are like allocating resources that are going to give you benefits. But then ultimately, the person who builds a wonder is going to benefit from those contributions because they pay less for that wonder. So that is really cool, I thought. And this campaign I'm really excited about, not only for the additional expansion, but because it's introducing a collector's box for the whole of everything architects that can fit in that box, but also a playmat. So I'm super excited about having a playmat for architects.
Now it says that it would suit both
everything. Yeah,
the playmat. The
playmat. Yeah.
Is it just because it's like, well, you can just ignore that section?
That's right.
Oh yeah.
I think it just
says
says everything.
Is it like a double layer, like double-sided?
I think it's everything that's ever been made for it, but of course you could just leave out elements of it. But yeah, that is exciting. So that is the level that we have backed it at for Works of Wonder, Collector's Box, and the playmat. It was an 8 for both of us. That is our number 2, Architects of the West Kingdom, Works of Wonder.
And our number 1 is a game called Divinus. Divinus? Divinus?
Divinus. Why do you always have to say it a weird way?
I don't know. It's, I'll blame ESL again. So in Divinus...
Divinus?
In Divinus, we are demigods. Again, demigods are real hot right now.
So hot right now.
It's like, when in doubt, be a demigod. There's going to be a clash between Nordic gods and Greek gods. And we're like, if there's going to be a new pantheon that's going to be created, we want to make sure that we, move things around, and we've kind of had our influence with both sides, so that then when that new government or pantheon is in place, we have a seat at that table. So that's essentially what we're going to be doing. We're going to be throughout the game sort of doing favors or gaining favors and building up our reputation, with potentially playing a little bit of either more of one or a little bit of both.
Now, this game is a legacy game, so you are going to be playing through with your character through a number of different campaigns, and in each of these campaigns, you are going to be drafting tiles from the center of the table by rolling dice and looking at the combination of the numbers of those die, and then picking that tile and bringing it back into your player area and placing it such that it makes sense with the landscape. So you have to match the different edges with the different types of landscape, as you would in many games. But this one allows you to then take a smartphone. So with all Lucky Duck games, they're starting to introduce, kind of technology-enabled gaming, where you scan that location, and then it's going to give you not only a bit of narrative, but also give you some choices. And those choices are going to affect the game, but affect your player as well. And over the course of each of these campaigns, you're going to be able to create more asymmetry with your player. So you're going to be able to upgrade and get benefits that you can take that nobody else can, that's going to make your character really unique to you. There's also stickers and things that get applied to different tiles and also onto your dice as well to make them more powerful. So there's classic legacy game style things that you can do to really make this game your own, but also affect, how powerful your character is. And so I think this would be a game that would reward probably playing with the same group of people. I definitely have a group in mind for this game, and I was really excited to hear about it because of our recent experience with Destinies. We were really surprised at how much we enjoyed that game, particularly the narrative elements and using the app. And this one seems, even more streamlined because there's no QR codes. So actually the little stickers, I believe, for the locations and things trigger the app, which is really cool. One thing that, as I was kind of researching this more, it does seem quite light. So the game itself feels very light, but sometimes I think it can be nice to have a lighter style game if you're like chopping and changing the rules a lot. So it's been likened to My City by a number of different reviewers. Yeah. And we haven't finished that yet, but I think we're about halfway through and really enjoying our time with My City. But it is a lighter experience. And so, but I can see how that works in the legacy style, because you're just like adding one or two things and everyone knows the basic rule set. And so, yeah, that can be really fun. But what really got me with this campaign is I definitely am going to back it, and it's our number one. So definitely we are in on this game, but their pricing is so clever that, at the entry price, it's €59. And €59 will get you a copy of the base game and all of the stretch goals. That seems pretty reasonable. Then it goes to €99, which is quite a hefty jump, which includes I think it's like a standalone expansion where you play as different characters, and it gives you some more campaign. Okay. So if you're looking for more content, then you might jump up to the €99. But if you're already at €99, then you might as well go to €119, because that includes everything in a one big box with all of the gameplay. And not only that, but all of the miniatures to go along with that. And some of them are quite large miniatures. So I can totally see the value of that €119 pledge, and mostly everybody else that's backing this has as well, because that's by far is the most popular level to back it at. But that now is over $200 for a legacy game. And let me talk about that for a second, because this game, at the end of it, you will have your own personalized game that you can continue to play. In our experience, when we've finished a legacy game, we've almost never come back to it. Yeah. It feels like by the time you get to the end of the story, the end of the changes, it's played out. Yeah. I don't think we've ever come back. No, we'll never come back to a legacy game. No. So it's highly unlikely that we will keep playing this once we've played it through. The other thing is that it comes with all these miniatures, which definitely would add to the game, but am I going to go to the trouble of painting the miniatures if I'm then not going to play the game again once we've played out the campaign? Yeah. And then, we can't start until I've painted them. And so it's just like, then the value of the miniatures seems diminished to me, because I don't know if it's going to have that staying power. Like, I want to paint something that's going to, we're going to time and time again get that game out onto the table. So I'm a little bit stuck. So
that's tricky.
This week, I would ask you to kindly please convince me in the comments as to all of the benefits of backing at the €119, $200 level. I may have missed something, but yeah, I don't know why. If you're out there and you're backing it at that level, which you probably are, tell me why that is. And do you expect to continue playing this after you've played it out?
Amy or justify her outrageous purchase?
Basically. But that is our top 10 for this fortnight. That is our back chat ranking. There are a couple of other campaigns that I do want to mention this week, just in passing. The first is there is a campaign on at the moment by BoardGameTables.com for a Jasper modular shelf system. They only are shipping to the US, so sorry everybody else, including us. But this is really an alternative to the IKEA Calyx. It's a system where a modular system where you can piece together the ideal kind of gaming shelf for you. So that's pretty cool, and check that out if you're looking for some shelves. And the second thing that I wanted to mention was our friends, the Brothers Murph, currently have their Season 5 Kickstarter campaign on, which is going to fund their new studio. But as part of that, they've created their own unmatched characters, which is pretty hilarious, and that's what they're giving away as part of the campaign. So if you enjoy their content, definitely go and check out their campaign, and we'll provide a link to that below. But that is everything for this fortnight on Backchat. I hope you have a lovely week ahead, and we will see you for small talk and another week. See you then. Bye for now.